My name's James Hooper, performance lifestyle coach for Table Tennis England.
I'd like you to plot the key moments that you've experienced, both as a player, as a person, as a student, both the good, the bad.
So the main areas that I'll be focusing on with the players are transitions, education, personal development and mental health and wellbeing. This is the first session of a series, so before we look forwards, I'd quite like them to look back and reflect on what they've already achieved to get here, both in sport and outside of sport. So we're asking them to develop their own personal autobiographical timeline, so they're able to, as I say, reflect on the successes, be able to talk about what their journey and their story has been. In future sessions, we'll then look to plan what they want their story to be, as I say, both in sport and out of sport, and that's then kind of, for me as the lifestyle coach, that's what will flag the areas of support that I can be a little bit more proactive with the players.
It's our commitment to the wellbeing, so the wellbeing of the athletes is incredibly important. It's front and centre of what we're all about, because if we have great wellbeing, we get great performances.
They'll be learning about themselves, these young kids, these young people, and as they grow and develop into young adults and on, they'll be learning who they are, both from a values perspective and moral perspective, in terms of hopefully what the skills that they'll develop, the more practical skills. It'll be around time management, professional behaviours, which, as we know, they can underpin performance at the highest level.
So psychologists working on types of behaviours they need to be able to possess if they're going to cope with pressure. And as you go through the pathway, pressure increases, and it's about how you cope with them, coping strategies when you're under pressure, trying to convert more nearly wins to wins, managing emotions that they might have as being part of our programme. So that's massively important. And then we have the lifestyle advisor as well, which is about trying to find an identity outside the sport, looking at, if you're going to be a world-class table tennis player, it can't be just table tennis that you're recognised for. Is there something you do as a hobby outside? How are you developing yourself outside the sport? Do you have a dual career? What is your exit route if it doesn't quite go to plan? So, for example, if you don't become absolutely brilliant and make loads of money from the sport, what's your exit plan? So there's all that type of stuff that starts to work towards better well-being of athletes.
Well, I think we as table tennis coaches, we focus a lot on the technical development and on the tournaments, and we always think forward, the next step, and we often not neglect, but I think we should pay more attention to life outside of the table tennis hall. It's really important, because an athlete that feels good will also be an athlete that performs good. So yeah, in this perspective, I think it's really important to have them on board and to have a wider perspective on development of younger athletes.
So I've been working in elite sport for coming up to 8 years now, predominantly working with GB Boxing, who are based here in Sheffield as well, and then more recently 3 years ago working with British Power Table Tennis, again doing the performance lifestyle role. Before that I was in university studying sports psychology. My interest in performance lifestyle kind of spawned through going to university, going through a couple of sporting transitions myself. I kind of feel like I've got that lived experience of not potentially having that support or those dual career aspirations that probably thinking back would have done us some real good. At the age of 14, getting released from a football academy and kind of losing that dream of being a Premier League footballer, that kind of hit hard. What spurred me on to do this was reading newspaper extracts of and articles of kids who've left academies and they turn around, they haven't got a GCSE to rub together, they've got nothing, and they're just kind of released back into the big bad world. And reading some of those pieces, I was a bit somebody should be doing something about that, really supporting in that way, and I feel really, really fortunate to now be in a position that I'm able to influence that and do something about it.
We've run some workshops and it's been fantastic, the commitment to it. It's very new for the younger athletes. The idea of reflecting on oneself is something different to what they might have done. And as you've seen today, there's full commitment, there's a lot of energy in the room.
I think it's really important. I think a lot of the differences between the better players and the people who aren't so good as them is a lot of what they're thinking and what they're doing in the preparation before they play and around the table as well, how they're balancing their life in general and how they get ready for the matches, and that's what separates a lot of the good players, I think.
It made me realise that there's a lot of choices that I've made, and that's made me who I am. So I will be more aware to continue to make sensible choices.
So the players that we've got between the ages of 14 and 18 here today, over these next 4 years they'll go through lots of different transitions both in sport and out, mainly education. So what my role will be is to make sure that they're able to find that balance between balancing their sport and driving after that, but also maintaining their academic performance as well, as we know that can underpin some really good dual career aspirations moving forwards.
You know, what we're showing is we're serious about world-class performance. We're serious about creating a support network around athletes so they can thrive.